today, ang goal natin is to have parang to hear a lecture, parang sort of like parang tips from Ivan for tonight. And then later, sasagutin natin yung mga tinanong niya sa Facebook and open forum na para sa lahat. You can ask the questions that you want to ask and hopefully I and Ivan can answer them, no? So, shall we before anything else, I'll acknowledge the presence of Ivan in this meeting. Ivan,
Oh, hello. Good evening.
good evening, Ivan. Can we start with you now?
Yes.
Okay, sige.
Share ko lang
So
yung
first, Ivan will be talking for the first 30 minutes to 1 hour, and we will be answering your questions after that. Okay. So are you ready, Ivan? I'll allow the sharing of screen already. Okay.
okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
And so sorry, before we start, let me just share my screen saglit. Um so if you could see my screen, could you pwede mo naman magsabi kung nakita yung screen ko?
Nakikita.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Thank
it is
you.
visible na po.
Alright. Okay, thank you. So I am given parang 30 minutes to 1 hour, pero I won't really keep you that long. This will be a general siguro advice and suggestions that you may find helpful as you start your law school journey, no? So, ayan. This is your final week, I believe, kasi week 4 na to, and this will only be a special course. Ayan. And then, so the title of our general course advice siguro is the student and the law. I want you to keep in mind the legal maxim na nakasulat dito. We'll be talking about that later. Hopefully my mic is okay. It's medyo mahangin. It says fiat justitia ruat caelum. It reads in English, let justice be done though the heavens may fall. Okay, so without further ado. So we have 3 parts, no, to finish in this course tonight. So part 1 is we're gonna talk about mindsets. We're gonna see and we're gonna discover, and I'm gonna suggest to you certain perspectives that have helped me personally, and that may also help you, hopefully. And then on part 2 is patience Padawan. This is essentially where I am going to discuss with you how you could start your first year, and how you may find it, how you may try and develop it, no, as you go and advance law school journey. And then the final part will be to stay the course. This will contain my final thoughts and conclusions, and putting everything into perspective, no? Okay, so yeah, in part 1 we're going to talk about mindset. So, by the way, a quick disclaimer here. There are a lot of more qualified people siguro na share with you these things. No? And I'd like every one of you to take these general advice with a grain of salt. No? So, so just take everything with a grain of salt, and then this will be just mostly from what I have experienced and what I have learned from others as well. Okay, so yeah, so some mindsets I would like you to consider. Number 1 is the growth mindset. So this mindset helps rewire your thought processes into perceiving each step as an opportunity to grow. This mindset also allows you to continually strive for improvement. Grandmaster Yoda of the Jedi Order teaches us this: do or do not. There is no try. Now, if you're frequent sa YouTube, no, meron kasing may estudyante kasi doon na he is I think computer engineer student siya sa US, and he studies for 12 hours a day. And this is legit kasi nagantay ako ng ng live niya, no, na parang to actually do the 12-hour period na mag-aaral talaga siya, and he does this. And sinamahan ko siya siguro for like 3 hours siguro, and then ayoko na. It's just too much sa akin. And pero at the end of that parang session, yung 12-hour session na yun, he explained how he does this kind of parang, itong 12-hour period na to, na of course he uses some study techniques, no, such as Pomodoro. Hindi siya yung diretsong 12 hours, hindi yung feasible, pero he uses the Pomodoro technique. So he divides his time, 1 hour for studies, and then he takes a break for like 15 minutes, tapos babalik ulit siya. So yun. And he explains two kinds of mindsets that he has discovered throughout the course of his academic life. No? Kasi college na siya, and yun. And he gives his viewers two mindsets. No? The stagnant mindset, in which is a case where you believe that you are only going to succeed at a certain point or at a certain level, and you're not in any way capable of overcoming that point, no. So many students, some students have this kind of mindset, if I'm only good at this subject, then this is the only subject that I'm good at. No, they don't. It's like this really really bad way of thinking na binibigay ng mga, in my opinion, it's a really bad way of thinking that kids are taught today. So people say, oh yeah, if you're good at English, you're probably bad at math. And if you're good at math, you're probably bad at the languages, or you're probably bad at the literature. And I think to myself, wow, that's one way to make someone's mindset and perception really really stagnant, kasi hanggang dun lang siya, like, okay, if I'm good at this, then this is probably where I'm just gonna give my energy to. This is where I'm just gonna do my best at. And then he introduces the second mindset, which is the growth mindset, and he says, so obviously the main difference is that the growth mindset, you grow and you surpass the limit that you think is your limit, no? And to him, kasi nakalimutan ko yung pangalan niya, pero just search lang yung 12-hour 12-hour study with me period, you will find his name. And he, noong una daw, parang akala niya hanggang parang 2 hours lang siya, 1 hour lang na pag-aaral, and then he just stops, he gets lazy and he goes to sleep or whatever, no? Pero as time goes on, as he went to college and things got more difficult for him, he had to do something about it. And so he discovered and he reshaped his way of thinking and adopted the growth mindset. So essentially, this is your limit. And if you have a growth mindset, you believe that you are capable of surpassing that limit. And in law school, no, I know and I understand people want to grow at their own pace, and I have no problem with that. Pero kasi sa law school, the reality is the law school will force you to grow if you are dedicated, or if you really decide to get through first year to fourth year and then take the bar and then pass the bar. If you want, parang you will be forced, no, to grow. But it doesn't have to be that way, It's just choose to grow, no, and perceive each step as an opportunity to grow. So yeah, so follow ko din tayo. So yeah, you try, and if you haven't considered having this kind of mindset, which I think siguro a majority of you, since you're college is also quite difficult. You probably already have this. It just needs a bit of siguro refining when you get into law school. Okay. And then the second is a learner's mindset. Now, this mindset embodies a famous adage, quote, the more you know, the less you actually do. So the illusion of knowledge is a fierce enemy. Humility is a great counter. A lawyer is essentially a lifelong learner. Remember this. your future profession is generally defined by your capacity to accumulate, absorb, and apply legal knowledge over time to better serve the needs of your client or society in general. So if if you want to have, or if you want to develop this kind of mindset, um always be in a position of humility. You really can't know everything, no? And it takes time to master certain concepts. There will be moments when yung mga kaklase mo, habang nagdi-discuss yung prof, like, lahat sila parang, they're nodding and they're having all these eureka moments. Oh, so that's what it is. And then you, on the other hand, you're like, you just scratch your head and like, what are they, anong pinag-usap, what is judge saying, what is attorney Juan saying, what is fiscal saying? I don't understand. I would understand if you feel frustrated at that point, pero a learner's mindset will help you counter that feeling of frustration, kasi you're just like the growth mindset. When you just push forward and continually, study, continually read about yung mga lessons mo and study about it, you will find that the more, the more you have this body of knowledge, it's like saying, like, you think you already know you encounter a certain doctrine, the Supreme Court, you read the Supreme Court case and you discovered a certain doctrine. You said, oh yeah, so that's what this law, how this law is applied. And then later on you discover, much later in readings, na, oh, there's I thought wrong, there's more to it than that. And if you to avoid being frustrated, just, humble yourself for a little while. just you just calm down and then humble yourself. You need time, no, to familiarize yourself and um to be in a situation where you're comfortable recalling what you have learned. And so, a quick reminder here is that the illusion of knowledge is a fierce enemy. Remember this, because there are a lot of situations where, which I have experienced during my exams. No, there was this one question, criminal law one, where I thought na parang, as I read the question, I read the circumstances, I was thinking narrowly. No, I focused on a few sentences that in my mind is like the complete, parang it's how you completely understand the question. And then after the exam, some of my friends, I think gusto nilang pag-usapan yung exam, so I just go with it. And so I asked them, what do you think, what was your answer, or what do you think about that question? Yung sentence na yun, anong sa palagay mo yun? And then, kasi kaibigan ko yung, one of my friends, he's a really top student sa class namin. And he proceeds to explain to me and puts it into context. So yung question, I was like, yeah. And so my first instinct was parang, because the way he explains was really good and I wanted to feel frustrated. Pero I took a step back and I said, I just want to be humble and and I remain grateful kasi it's a new lesson. And so as a lifelong learner, and since you're just gonna keep learning new things even as you become a lawyer, you are bound to not know something and just shatter that initial understanding and unlearn it, reshape it, and then learn something new. So if you want to be comfortable with that kind of process, I do recommend having this kind of mindset, which I think all law students should have naman. Okay? And so, please tell me if you don't really understand or I'm talking too fast, no? Para maintindihan nyo. And then finally, I think this is the last one, the Conquerors Mindset. So law school is a war zone. It is a war zone, your job. However, it's not necessarily to win the war. It is to survive it. No? To live, to fight another day, to rest, to pause, to conserve energy, to organize your resources, to reflect, to restart, to move forward, however and whenever you can. Law school is just one of many, many battles. No? To take the bar is another. It's an infinitely more difficult battle than law school itself. No? And so is to appear in court and to serve your clients. No? So conquer all you can anyway. So what this mindset will help you with is that there will be moments, and hopefully not too many moments, no, but in my experience I had a lot of really really bad moments where for like a month or 2 months straight, every single day, every single class na natatawag ako, wala akong nasasagot na tama, or parang I'm almost, I recite correctly initially, pero nung follow up na yung professor, parang wala na, hindi, I didn't, you could say I didn't finish strong, or I didn't finish as, I didn't finish to win it, to win the recitation, to get that passing grade. So I had a lot of failed remarks, unfortunately. Pero as I continued to mature, and which you probably will mature more once you're in law school, is that yes, I didn't get, I didn't get the answer that the professor was hoping for. Yes, napahiya ako. Yes, sinabihan ako magtanim na lang ako ng kamote. Yes, sinabihan ako na, ano ba yun? May one time kasi na parang, kasi I'm not that tall, not that tall of a person, siguro 5'4", ganyan. And the judge called me, kasing tangkad ko daw si Dolphy, and or I think he said I look like Dolphy. I don't know why he said that, probably because he was, I don't know why he said it, but I probably don't look like him, pero yun, as an insult, sinabi niya sa akin yun. And just after these things, I started to get really, really frustrated. Like, it's like telling myself, I don't deserve this treatment, ang drama. Pero I talked to my friends about it. Sila din naman actually madaming naman na parang in our class na bumabagsak, no, na they don't really win, or they don't win, they don't pass their recitations. And so I talked to them and they said, well, there's tomorrow, and you could, bawi ka bukas ng ano ba yun. So parang, so like for example, kung crim law kung yung gabi, and then bukas may PFR kami, persons and family, bawi ka bukas. Bawi ka bukas kay attorney. Hayaan mo na yan, next week na ulit. Kasi ang klase namin sa law school namin parang once a week, but it takes hours, like 3 hours on average, 4 hours on average. And they said, move on, you survive. And when I heard you survived, it just clicked na parang, yeah, I could just learn from what happened, study better, memorize more provisions for the professor. And since I survived, I could fight another day. And so because of this mindset, I learned how to allocate my energy where it needs to be. Kasi if I just become frustrated the entire week, just beating myself up, you're really stupid, ganyan. Ang dali-dali ng tanong, di mo na memorize, parang sobrang dali, like may mga madadaling tanong talaga na hindi ko maintindihan kung bakit hindi ko nasasagot. And then just parang if I dwelt on that situation, I would not have been moving forward. And so when my friend said, oh, you survived, then that means I can move forward. No? And that also helped me, parang dedicate my energy to trying to be better, trying to recite better, coming up with different techniques to memorize certain provisions of the law, or take better para understanding, some concepts, etc. And so again, you yes, we want to pass, we want to pass every single recitation, every single quiz, and every single exam. But when you don't, um, try and console yourself and tell yourself, well, you survived. And you could always, there's always a different day, and you reflect on it and you restart and you move forward. Yeah. Because law school won't wait for you. You could just mope all day, pero may klase ka pa rin sa gabi, and it won't wait for you to be better. I'm not saying this, out of spite, na parang, oh, you shouldn't be emotional and all that. No, 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 no. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, always choose to move forward, no matter how uncomfortable it may feel. No, and this kind of mindset can teach you that. Okay, so remember, you can and you will. So yan, tatlong mindset. If you will notice, pag pinagsama-sama niyo yung tatlong mindset na yun, you will see that they complement each other. And it's on purpose, no? I presented that on purpose. Kasi I'm not this kind of person who gets my inspiration from a single concept or a single idea, no? What I do is I listen to many, many perspectives. I group them up. I analyze them. I examine them, and I pick certain parts of them which I incorporate into something that can be beneficial para sa akin. So that's how I did those mindsets. No? Although you can see them, you can read about them, yes. You can learn about them from other from other law students, and yes. But those three really, really they have helped me survive so far. Na hindi pa ako parang nagdo-drop, no? Or just quitting law school. Okay, and then part 2 now. Here comes the part where we talk about the general tips, no? General advice while in law school, and how you could. I'm not saying these are the only ways. I'm saying that you could probably incorporate this sa mga sa system na para sa inyo. Okay? So law school and you. So number 1 is, instead of setting goals, try developing a system that fits you. Now, I learned from a psychologist, I forgot his name, but he is featured in Big Think. It's a channel in YouTube where you could, watch scientists and all sorts of scientists na parang nag-share ng kanilang input on something. And one of them, hindi pa si Paul Bloom. I think his name was Paul Bloom, or I'm mistaken. Basta yun. He taught his viewers to set a system instead of setting goals. His rationale was really simple. So if you set goals, no, for example, for Monday hanggang Friday, your goal is to read 50 pages a night, or finish 100 pages one night, whatever goal na parang kaya mong gawin. Okay? So you set up Monday 100 pages, Tuesday 100, until you finish the entire week, weekdays. No? You will be bound, or you are bound to mess up at some point, which I'm sure all of you, we're all humans here. We all mess up at some point in our lives, and we do not achieve, or you do not achieve your goal, for example, on Wednesday. So you only read 20 pages kasi natulog ka na. or you only read 10 pages kasi galing ka sa labas, you probably hang out with friends, and pagdating mo ng bahay, sobrang pagod ka, and then, hindi ka na nakabasa. So, you failed your goal. And what happens most of the time is that there's a greater chance of you to be discouraged, no? Kasi if you're gonna think at some point, you're probably going to think at some point, because I didn't achieve my goal this day, I probably wouldn't achieve it the next few days. And so that's the disadvantage, no? If you set goals. Now, what then is a system? A system is a kind of, it's like just think of a machine that can still function without some certain parts. For example, if you have a car, for example, no? Let's say you have a defective window, or your window, hindi nyo ma-slide down yung isang window nyo. If that doesn't work, the rest of the car works, right? And so to put it into an analogy system, if you do not achieve, like, if you don't do, like, for example, if you do less better if you do less better this day, no, than yesterday, you're not gonna be discouraged kasi parang iisipin mo, what you want in a system is the continuous functioning of your body to the point where everything becomes muscle memory. Because when you set goals, no, and you fail to achieve them, you're less likely to, or it's gonna be probably quite difficult to restart over, no? Kasi parang, oh yeah, I didn't achieve my goal there, and so probably this, probably that. So you're gonna start doubting yourself. Whereas if you have a system, regardless of how much output, no, it's probably less or more, you're still moving forward. If you do less today, that's okay. Kasi you followed your system, and your body will be, it's gonna feel parang a sort of achievement kasi at least you did something, at least you ran that machine, right? And so the point of this is to try and make studying sort of like muscle memory for athletes, and you won't exhaust as much energy to force yourself to study. Kasi iisipin ng katawan mo, oh, it's this o'clock. Because you've been doing this o'clock for 3 months in a row, you won't think twice of doing it again kasi sanay ka na eh. So that's the system. And it's infinitely a better way than setting goals, at least for me, no? So ito alternative lang to. It doesn't work for everyone. But if you haven't tried it yet, I do recommend trying it. And number 2, there's no substitute for reading, especially reading full text cases. Buy books if you can. Now, yeah, I think this is it's very siguro to. It's needless to say there is no substitute for reading, especially reading full text cases. Now, I do understand the urge to read case digests. I am a victim. Para I do this din kasi pag sobrang kipit sa oras, tas kailangan mong, you need to study it for the next class. And so I read digest instead of full text. Now, the problem with reading digest is that you don't get the context of the case. And so when the professor asks you to explain certain concepts and put it into perspective, you're left hanging kasi, alam mo lang definition. alam mo lang yung dispositive portion. Alam mo lang yung parang, you know only certain facts, no? You don't know the context of the facts, which is going to be a real problem, right? And so I highly encourage you to read full text. It can be taxing. Yes, it's nakakapagod din. Kasi, alam mo yun, sometimes the Supreme Court, the way they write, it can be a bit verbose. Okay? I'm not, this isn't a valid criticism siguro, but it can be verbose. There are words that he should have just said this, and they managed to write two sentences that would have said the same thing. So it can get really tiring. Pero read. No, read. Just tsagayin nyo. And buy books if you can. Now, Kuya, are we required to buy books? This will depend on your professor. Some people who I talk to, I talk to yung mga boss ko sa law firm namin. And nag-aral sila sa Baguio. Say they instead of relying on books, they relied on their yung mga syllabus ng mga professor nila and yung PowerPoint ng prof nila. Kasi usually that's all they need to pass their subject, and the professor is really good at explaining things. So yun. But if you want to supplement yourself, which I really recommend, excuse me. It would be nice if you could buy books, but if you can't, that's okay. There are a lot of resources in the internet. I'm not, advocating for piracy, but there are a few blogs. Yeah, and there are a few sites which I won't recommend because they're pirated. Pero what I'm gonna say is you can find resources on the internet. Okay, just look for them. You can look, marami yan. So and number 3, you sleep. No, coffee is fine, but sleep is infinitely better, no? And then you eat well and get some exercise. So parang don't constrain yourself with 2 choices. You sleep or you drink coffee. No, you sleep and you drink coffee, or just you drink coffee and you sleep. You will not survive really, especially sa first parts or sa first few months ng law school niyo if you don't get regular sleep, kasi marami kang babasahin and you'd probably feel overloaded and that sort of thing. And so if you're sleep deprived, obviously you can't function well. You cannot remember and recall the concepts that you read last night, no? So how many hours? Probably if you can get 8 hours, that would be really nice. And I would really I applaud you if you could. If you're a full-time student, 8 hours is really perfect. But if you're a working student like me, and if you plan to go working like me, try and get some sleep. It doesn't matter. At least 6 hours. 6 hours. It's really bad. It's really bad advice. Pero kasi gipit tayo sa oras, and so we need to study more at night. So ako, the most I could get is 6 hours before I get to work. No? Which I will explain later. And yung coffee intake ninyo, yung kaya nyo huwag masyadong kape na hindi na kayo matutulog. No? And you eat well. You get some good exercise as well. Taking care of your health is really essential in law school. Okay, number 4, take notes. I cannot stress this enough. So try the Cornell note-taking method. I will show you how the format of this goes, which I use this, I use the Cornell really most of the time. I use Cornell most of the time. Sometimes pag tamad na ako, I just scribble along. You can choose between digital or handwritten note-taking. I do both. Of course, studies will tell you that handwritten note-taking will give you a better chance of recall because of, I don't know, I forgot what the explanation is, but that's just what I read. No, and then mas it would be handwritten notes are preferred kasi mas naalala nyo yung sinusulat ninyo. So to get most of out of two worlds, I do both. So I do really quick reviewers. If talagang gahol na ako sa oras, I do quick reviewers sa laptop. I write them down, or if I have time, I do handwritten notes. And number 5, Pomodoro works. If you haven't heard of Pomodoro, it's this really, really good parang divide where you dedicate certain amount of time to you dedicate a certain amount of time for work and then you take a break. No? So I use the 60-15 system. Ito yung 60 minutes. Ito yung natutunan ko doon sa sinasabi ko kanina 12-hour etc. person. But I didn't hindi biglaan yun eh. I use yung 25-10, yung 25 minutes study and then 10 minutes
bakit sinumi muntik na?
So if you're just starting out, I suggest using the 25-minute and the 10-minute system kasi baka kasi mabigla kayo. Baka kasi pagkatapos ng siguro that you, for example, you start out with 60 minutes of study, no? And then after noon parang oh wow, you have a release of hormones that feels you achieve something and oh wow, I studied 1 hour. Yes, let's go. I want to sleep. I can finally rest, you know. And after 50 minutes, hindi ka na bumalik sa study table mo. So this happens pag hindi ka sanay. So kailangan mo muna sanay yung sarili mo. And to do that, start small, piece by piece. Take it day by day, no? Don't rush yourself. Again, what you're trying to do here is to develop a system, no? And developing a system takes time. So 25 minutes, just focus on what you're doing. Either reading a chapter, taking notes, whatever. Just in the span of 20 minutes, focus, like extreme focus. And after that, 10 minutes of doing just anything except what you just did. Okay, that. So what I usually do is, so after 1 hour, I watch short videos on YouTube that could last 15 minutes. Sometimes I watch one episode of anime, even though that's like 25 minutes of episode. You know, sometimes you could spoil yourself, pero you know, discipline. You always go back to your discipline. No? So yun, yeah, so it works. It really works. Kasi what you want is you don't want to overload yourself with so much information na parang dire-diretso yung pag-aaral nyo. No, we could only take so much before our brain just retires because sobrang pagod niya na. And so the brake system is designed to reboot your system. And then finally, number 6, recite using the Angat method. So ito, siguro alam niyo na to. No? This has been discussed by many people sa Facebook. I found this kay Rob Gozun, if you know him. He's pretty famous sa Facebook. I recommend you follow him. He gives really good lectures. So that is answer, legal basis, argument, conclusion. I'm not gonna take too much on this. It's just the reason why you want to use this method is because this is the method that will give you the most precise, concise, and brief answer that will please majority of your professors. Remember, you want to drive your point as hard as possible. In order to do that, you want to be straightforward. I remember one time, legal ethics class. Pero hindi to case question. Kasi sabi niya, tinanong muna ni attorney, if he or she, if she knew yung lawyer's oath. And then parang pinag-explain niya, parang in her opinion, ganyan. Tapos, later, may pinag-recite na isa na recite the lawyer's oath. And then, obviously, makikita mo sa demeanor ng tao, makikita mo sa demeanor kung hindi siya nakapag-memorize or hindi siya nakapagbasa. And instead of, just attacking the question alone, just trying. She goes on to say, sino ba kasi nagsulat ng, and out loud in the entire class heard what she said. She said, sino ba kasi yung nag-imbento ng lawyer's oath? And everyone just like scratched their head. And so the professor was obviously taken aback. And so if you stick to this method, you're probably not gonna be one of those people who beats around the bush and says a lot of comment, no, which is not advisable. Kasi, it will waste a bit of time pag you answer, while beating around the bush. So you want to be straightforward, precise, and concise, and brief. No. So this method is one of the best. I use this in almost all of recitations, which requires an explanation to a certain, parang situation-based question. Pero pag there are a lot of questions kasi that can be asked, like, recite the provision, what do you think about this provision, and that, and so forth. So if you encounter a situation-based question, use this. No? Answer first. Like if you're not called to qualify your answer, this is really important. Do not qualify your answer if you do not need to, or if the question does not call for a qualified answer, like it depends. No? Never make that mistake, or you'd probably do it. But I'm telling you now, don't make that mistake. Why? Because most often than not, when your professors ask questions, there is an answer that is explicitly laid out in his syllabus or in the book that you're reading. Nandun lang yon. All you have to answer is yes or no, right? And then you cite your legal basis, and then you argue in this case, etc., etc., and then you conclude. So yeah, so that's how the ALAC method works. It's really useful and really helpful. Okay. Last. So if you are nominated as class leader or class officer in an organization or your class, please politely decline if you cannot handle the extra responsibility. So please be real with yourself, no? Pag di mo kaya, wag mong tanggapin. You have to be honest. Kasi if your entire class kasi depends on that responsibility, hindi lang ikaw yung maapektuhan kundi yung mga klase mo. So take that into account. And however, if you can handle it and decide to accept it, getting yourself elected in the process, you're doing God's work. Thank you so much. Ceasefire is love. So you probably heard of ceasefire before. It's a really famous word among law students. According to some of the top-notchers sa bar 2019 na napanood ko sa interview, it originated from San Beda. So if you're planning to go to San Beda, don't forget to thank we're thankful sa school ninyo. Kasi you invented this kind of concept. So yeah, so you're doing God's work. Kasi alam nyo, there will come a point where 3 months into law school, everyone is just so tired of digesting, of reciting, of having to take quizzes, of especially for the working students, no? That we just need a break, just a short break. And so if you could get a ceasefire and negotiate terms with your professor na hindi mo na magpa-recite for tonight, that would be really, really helpful. And it's love. Everyone loves a ceasefire. You do everything for a ceasefire. Birthday ng prof nyo, Valentine's Day, malapit na mag-Christmas, just do everything. At least in our class. Just anything for a ceasefire. Okay. I remember in our class, statutory construction, it's a minor subject, pero kasi medyo light lang subject na yun kasi the professor was quite old, and so parang light lang yung discussion. So bigla-bigla na lang may kakanta sa likod, or may someone will joke, like as in mag-joke lang siya loudly, hindi niya sineseryoso yung recitation. And so, the professor was cool enough to go with the flow, and the entire night, parang ceasefire. And so yun, one of the memorable things kasi nakakatawa, everyone was just doing their best na hindi ma-shuffle ni prof yung class card. Okay? Ayan, so let me introduce you to my personal work study system. Again, so you find your system that works for you. So I am a working student and I juggle work and study. So number one, I wait between 7 and 8. Obviously, this is where I do things to get prepared for the day. I get to work at 9. Now, you might be wondering why I get to work at 9. This is because sa workplace ko, yung mga lawyers doon, they're kind enough to understand na parang I couldn't make it by 8 kasi I need sleep, no? And kasi mga lawyers doon, naging working student din sila. So fortunately for me, naintindihan nila yung situation ko, and so they approved my parang reporting hours to start at 9 a.m. So if you're a working student, if you plan to be a working student, and if you could negotiate some kind of arrangement that would be beneficial sa'yo, try negotiate it. 9 a.m. 9 a.m. is a good beneficial stuff. And so I finish by 4 to 5. And I get to school by 5:30, which is usually how or para majority of my classes start. And I eat dinner after class. So that depends whether 3 hours yan, 2 hours, 4 hours. So yeah, 8:30 ba yan? It sometimes stops at 8:30, 9:30, or 7:30, depending on your prof. And then I get home by 10. Many times I really decline invites to go out with friends. Because of this mandate, LOL, sad, but happy to because introverted. Yes. So aside from that, we want to create a system, di ba? Pero, and because I want to stay true to my system, I try and get home at any time. Dapat 10 p.m. nakauwi na ako. And at 11, I should be all set to study. So 10 to 11, yan. Siguro, I usually just have a bath, shower, hydrate myself, and just arrange the things that I need to study. At this point, sometimes it varies because I get too tired and I fall asleep. So I study at dawn instead. So what happens is that if I fall asleep, siguro pag 11 na, and hindi ko na talaga kaya. I just sleep and then I wake up at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. and I study hanggang 6, ganyan, 5. And then I wake up at, 7 or 8. Pero I do my best to follow the system so that I use less energy to force myself to do things I need to do. Ayan, so para maging muscle memory siya. And then I Pomodoro it out until 2 a.m. So that makes it 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 hours of studying. And in those 3 hours, I dedicate at least 1 hour of exclusive noting. And I repeat this the next day. So, wala na. So, you tweak your kind of system for you. I'm not saying this is the best for everyone. I'm saying that you could probably have this as your guide and, incorporate some of these. This is for a working student situation. So, I haven't been a full-time ever. So, if you're full-time, try and get a system going. It will really help instill discipline. Okay. And then weekends, so I sleep. I also play Final Fantasy and Hell Loose. If you want to team up, I guess you could find me on my name, Jan. So yes, I do have a life. So, people say, oh yeah, law students don't have a life. They do have a life. Sometimes it's this kind of life. It's not as grandiose as some people have. No, pero we do our best to have one. In my case, since my klase ako hanggang Saturday, I go home at Sunday sa bahay sa town kasi I board sa isang city, and so I sleep the entire day sa Sunday, and I play a few games, I take a break, I do nothing on Sunday, like literally nothing, kahit Monday yung susunod, kasi for Monday I read on Saturday kasi Saturday night, that's when I read for Monday night, and then para pagdating ng Sunday I just sleep the entire day, like literally sleep. When I get home, minsan, magtataka parents ko, hindi ako makita ng parents, akala nila hindi ako umuwi. Pero nung tinawag nila ako, narinig na yung ringtone dito sa kwarto ko, they just, you were there the entire time, you're sleeping. So yan, So that's my weekend edition. Now, how do my notes look like? So this is the Cornell method, no? This is really helpful. Kasi sa left margin mo, meron kang Q&A, recall. Ito, this is where you put your Q&A. Like, for example, sa persons and family relations nyo, number 1 question, when does or how does a law become effective? And then sa notes section ninyo, which is like the majority of your, if you use a yellow paper, I use a yellow paper for this. So the majority ng notes section, katabi ng question na yun, you answer that. Okay, and then below that, below these two parang columns or sections, you have your summary. This is where you parang recall everything, you write everything in your own words. No? So why is this helpful? It's helpful because you get to read your materials for 4 times. Okay, first, you read your book. Okay? You read your book without doing anything, just read it. Read, no? Second, start ka na mag-notes. So babalikan mo yung binasa mo. And then from that, you write down questions and start taking notes. So that's the second time you read your material. And then the third time is when you answer the questions from your recall section. So that's your notes. You review yourself. That's the third time you get to read your material. And the fourth time is your summary. Okay? The fourth time is your summary where you summarize your material and you read it again. And so this has a very, very strong recall. That by the time you reach class, it's easier, no, to try and remember what you have learned last time. Okay, so that's how you want it to look like. You could tweak this according to how you want, but this is how I do my notes. Okay, so reading routine, I only use the yellow highlighter. Isa lang yung kulay na ginagamit ko. If you are comfortable with using a lot of colors, rainbow highlighters, that's fine. Again, this is all about what fits you. Okay, and then I use a pencil for scribblings on my book. This is where I annotate some notes kasi minsan may mga concepts sa libro na hindi masyadong explain. Tapos pag binasa mo yung full text case, maintindihan mo. And so what I do is I put scribbles doon and I annotate kung anong ibig sabihin nun, no? na according to Supreme Court. Okay, and I use black ballpoint pens for notes. You can use any pen. If you're into fountain pens, that's great. I know a few friends who use fountain pens for notes, and they have one of the best, if not the best, handwriting that you could probably possibly see. It's really, really nice. It's really, really good. If you're that kind of person, go for it. So I use a laptop to adjust cases digitally before I write them down. So you'd probably think, oh, that's a waste of time. Well, siguro kasi since mas mabilis ako mag-digest pag sa digital kasi sometimes you could just copy paste certain parang snippets of paragraphs into the Word document and you skim them, you summarize these and take down notes. It's faster that way. The only reason why I write them down is because kailangan mo magpasa ng case digest mo at the end of the sem. So I just write it down sa notebook. How does this work for me, diba? So tapos ko na yung assignment for the entire sem 1 month before submission. And during that entire month, I still haven't written them down on a notebook. Okay? And so what happens is, as I write them down, I use them as my reviewer for the final exams. That is 1 month away. So as I write my digest, as I remember certain concepts the Supreme Court discussed, I am at the same time being reviewed for the exam that will come a month later. So it's a good system for me. I don't know if it works for you, but you could, if you haven't tried it yet, you could, if you want to try it, you could probably, it could be advantageous then para sa inyo. I also play some music. If with lyrics, I play music which uses a language I don't understand. This is to prevent my brain from processing the lyrics, which in turn prevents distraction. This is a really good technique or a trick that I learned from, I don't know, someone from YouTube. This is why classical music is a really good background music for those studying. Kasi Not only does it help you not feel sleepy, it helps combat drowsiness then. Pero it kind of gives you that, I don't know, there's this explanation kasi na parang it heightens your brain waves or something. You know, you could look into that. But for me personally, I only play music so that I won't fall asleep. That's my that's my purpose done. Okay, so that's my reading routine. Um, so if you want to incorporate this, that's fine. If you want to tweak it, that's fine as well. Okay, so finally, final part. So sakto lang 1 hour. So here, I'm gonna give, these are my final thoughts now. So for surviving first year and beyond. So number one, please be kind to yourself. Be anti-fragile, not self-defeating. Now, what is being anti-fragile? Again, I learned this concept from a psychologist in Big Think. Now, there are two things. Anti-fragile is synonymous with being resilient. The only difference is that if you have an anti-fragile personality, right, and hardships come your way, not only do you have a better time bearing that difficulty, but you will also like thrive during that phase, during those hardships. That's being anti-fragile, no? And the opposite of this is probably self-defeating, just beating yourself up, just like I discussed earlier, it's not productive. So what you want is you want to be resilient, and persevere, but you also would want to thrive during these difficult times, kasi that's how you move forward, that's how you grow in law school. It's to thrive during the most difficult times and getting ahead of it and overcoming it, okay. And number two is taking care of your health. This is I don't have to say this, but just for a quick reminder, physical and mental health they're as important as the other. So take care of them. Again, eat well, get some exercise. Just take care of your health. Mahirap magkasakit sa law school kasi you're gonna miss a lot of things. You're gonna miss a lot of discussions and you're gonna miss a lot of opportunities. Sana makabawi ka sa recit mo at, absent ka pa. And my policy pa na pag number of absences drop ka na. So yeah, so just prevent yourself from getting sick. That's the key here. All right, both physically sick and mentally sick. Okay, and then join a study group that can alternate as a support group. I would say that it's possible for you to go through law school alone. It's possible, but it is extremely difficult. Like extremely, when kasi, di ba, irregular student ako, and usually what happens is mag-assign ng cases, 100 to 200 cases yung prof mo for the entire semester, and you're supposed to pass that at the end, at around final exams. Since irregular ako, naiwan ako. So yung study group ko, they move forward. Ako, I had to go back to my previous subjects. So yung professor na nagbigay ng sobrang daming cases, I had to do it alone. And it was probably the most exhausting semester and exhausting phase of my life that I have. Like, I have to digest 5 cases a day for an entire 5-month period. And take note, I only have 3 hours to study, di ba? I have to study pa for the next night. So, if you're going through it alone, and okay lang siguro pag full-time ka, I think there will be problems, but it's not as big as what working students will have. But for working students, please join a study group. No? All of you, regardless of whether you're full-time or working, just join a study group because they can act as an alternative support group. As much as I would like to go through it alone, being introverted, it helps that I have people who encourage me, who are supportive of me, and who comfort me in really, really difficult times. So yeah. So that's number 3. Number 4, learn to reward yourself. Right? Remember, you're in a battle here, and you're doing a great job considerably. If you're doing a great job considerably and you think, you know, you did your best, just reward yourself. Spoil yourself, buy whatever, go out to your favorite cafe or something. Any reward that could help you feel that you're taking care of yourself, right? And number five, your goal is progress, not perfection. Perfection involves a certain amount of ego kasi you're not there to perfect yourself as a human being. You're there to progress and to grow. So if you're focused on progressing, it doesn't matter how small the progress is. What's important is that you are surely progressing. No? And remember, progress is not linear. They are like there are different kinds of I don't know how to say, I don't know the term for it, pero it varies. No, progress varies. It's not linear. Sometimes you're in a slump. Sometimes you're at a really peak performance, and you maintain that for a week, and then later after that week you fail. No, so that's progress, and you should be proud of yourself because you're moving forward. And number six, take things stay at a time. This is important just to help you feel to prevent you from feeling overwhelmed. That's a problem with a lot of law students, that they feel overwhelmed. Now, how do you combat this? You just take one reading at a time, one recitation at a time, one case at a time. Dedicate yourself to a specific task. It is better for you to familiarize yourself with and to sort of masters a few concepts than skimming through 100 pages, not understanding a single thing, going to class and just twiddling your fingers, hoping you don't get called kasi baka hindi mo ma-explain ng maigi. Okay? That's not the way to go, at least in my opinion. Okay? And then number seven, reflect, learn, and adapt. So the reason why you have to reflect is because you have to learn from your mistakes. You acknowledge and realize that something is wrong. The first step to solving a problem is knowing that there is a problem. In order to do that, you have to reflect. After reflecting, you learn from it, and after learning from it, you adapt accordingly. Okay? So that's how you could survive. And then number eight, study well. This is obviously you should. There is this really, really powerful reminder from the Bar Boys that says every single article that you read and every single law that you read is I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. A human life depends on every single article you read and every single law, a provision of the law that you read. And so I'm saying this because it is fun in law school. There are a lot of experience that makes it enjoyable. No? Pero at the end of the day, you have to remind yourself your profession entails public service. No, if you serve people without the needed knowledge, then you're not really doing them a favor. You're not doing both. You're not doing yourself a favor. You're not doing them a favor, and so no one's really benefiting from that, and it's not productive. So you study well and keep on trying to study, regardless of whether you understand or not. Just keep on trying. So number 9 is attend class punctually regardless of whether you are prepared. This is very important kasi I did this na rin kasi, I didn't want to go to class kasi hindi ako nakapagbasa. Pero I realized after doing that, parang it's not productive. First of all, I fail recitation, and then second of all, I lose parang lessons. So yeah, just brave it. Just try and brave it, right? Steal your resolve. All right. And then number 10, if things don't go your way, remember this: discomfort and hardships are the price for a meaningful life. So if you want to have a meaningful life, You have to suffer discomfort, you have to suffer hardships. They are non-negotiable. The only people who do not endure stress are dead people. Because you're not dead, you have to go through the discomfort. You have to go through the hardships. That's what being alive essentially is. All right. And so final thoughts here to end. So let's face it, our justice system is broken. It has been for decades. Corruption is rampant. It's normalized. It's even encouraged. Laws are violated by the very same people sworn to uphold and protect them. Indeed, there is work to be done. I am reminded of the words of Justice Leone in one of his speeches. If you're not following him on Twitter yet, please follow him on Twitter. His tweets are really good. Quote, "It is tempting to simply exist in the comfort of our lives, succumb to the status quo. Just get rich, do our thing, and allow our existence to be full of material possession, but meaningless." But we have a choice. We have the option to discover our courage, live with the discomfort, critically examine our society, and use our profession for a greater purpose. Your oath to the rule of law is not an oath to surrender to the unjust and oppressive elements of the status quo. It is not licensed to further marginalize those who are disadvantaged, those who are poor, those who are abused by power and untruths. Your oath serves as the power to bring about change that is hopefully just and hopefully systemic. It's a really good quote. I hope you remember it. In Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Sirius Black gently reminded Harry, "We've all got light and dark inside of us. What matters is the part we choose to act on. That's who we really are." So again, fiat justitia ruat caelum, let justice be done, though the heavens may fall. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in court. Counsel. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan, for that really inspirational message for our participants tonight. And I hope they attentively listened sa mga sinabi mo, sa mga tips na binigay mo. And later on, we will be answering their questions na yung na-raise nila na questions. And then we will open the floor for questions if in case they were not able to write as comment yung mga yung mga so we are on week 4, special topics and how to survive law school. So sasagutin lang natin yung mga tanong nyo. They are here, nakaano sila, as is, no? Nakalagay yung mga comments niyo. So what's the most important character or attitude that we should have when entering law school? Siguro sa akin sa akin is consistency ang best character or attitude na dapat meron ng ang isang law student, no? Kasi there will be times that yung recitations, yung mga exams are rough, talagang minsan mahirap talaga. Pero if you are consistent, kapag consistent ka na nag-aaral ka pa rin kahit na wala masyadong ginagawa, mga ganun. I think that is something that that will help you along the way. Hindi kasi siya minsan kasi kapag wala masyadong activity in law school, tinatamad, hindi na mag-aaral, but eventually it will bite you in the ass later on when you get to law school na, no? Ivan, care to share your thoughts on this?
I fully agree with the consistency part kasi alam niyo, para dire-diretso lang, no? You won't falter and kasi you're not really preparing for your class, you're preparing for the bar. And so yeah, consistency is a really good attitude that you should have.
Yeah. So let's answer the next question. What are the necessary things po you wish you knew before entering law school? Siguro ako personally, mas gusto parang sana nalaman ko na that law school is a very long commitment, no? Mahaba pala talaga siya. It's not just about the 4 years. It's not like about yung marami kasi oras, yung sacrifices that you'll have to make, mga ganyan. yun siguro yung dapat sana nalaman ko, that it's parang am I really ready for this? Na akala ko syempre ano lang yun, 4 years is just like undergraduate, mga ganon. So I thought it will be as easy. I thought it will be as parang ganun lang din, no? But it's completely different. Sobrang iba siya in a sense na it is demanding on so many levels. Hindi ka lang nag-aaral, you'll have to, as for me, ano no, kasi nagtrabaho rin ako before law school, and it really takes a lot of sacrifices. Sana nalaman ko yon para, I don't know, it could have changed my mindset. Kasi it's, people think about the prestige of being a lawyer, pero minsan hindi na nakakalimutan natin what goes into that before you become a lawyer. Ivan?
Ako naman, I wish I knew it was extremely difficult. Kasi going to law school, parang I thought like, yeah, this is, you're just gonna read a lot and you're gonna read and read and read. So like, since reading is something I do on a daily basis, parang okay, it's probably gonna be that easy. Pero, and then when I went, and I actually enrolled and I got into class, the culture shock and everything just felt so overwhelming that I wish I delayed my entrance into law school muna, and I just should have just enjoyed life first before the thing is, I graduated college and then I just immediately entered law school. I just wish I delayed a bit, pero dito tayo. So like, hopefully sana na-realize ko yun.
Yeah.
Pero okay naman.
Yeah, taking a gap year is really a good idea, I think. You don't go straight to law school kasi it's not a race eh. Eventually kahit na anong age ka when you become a lawyer, it doesn't really matter, no? Wala masyadong ano, kasi feeling yung iba kasi obsessed sila about being a young lawyer, mga ganyan. Pero it's really harder to be a lawyer when you're young. That's what I know from experience, no? Ang hirap, especially if you don't have the skills to make life decisions on your own, mga ganun, lalo pag if it's about your career, mga ganyan, what to prioritize, ganun. It's really hard. Kaya minsan maganda mag-gap year to think about it thoroughly, no? You don't enter law school and then quit eventually. Maraming whether you believe it or not, sobrang daming mga nagko-quit in law school after 1 year, 2 years, because they were not prepared for the sacrifices that they had to do, which is sad sometimes kasi sayang ang resources, sayang ang panahon ng lahat ng involved, no? So yun, sana it's really good, parang sana ma-realize natin how difficult it is and how much of our time will be taken by that experience, no? This is not, of course, to discourage you naman to enter law school. If you really want it, go ahead. Pero what I'm trying to say is think about it 100 times, no, before going. Ask people about their experiences. Ask people about what they think, ganyan. Consider your personal circumstances before entering law school. Yun lang siguro. Our next question is how to do statement of facts for digest, or how to properly choose which fact to include in the digest, no? Sa akin kasi, I believe in reading first the entire case, although you can't always do that. You can't always do that given time constraint kasi alam mo naman, ilalim mga working, minsan kukulain ka talaga ng oras. But the thing is, the very first thing to consider is anong subject ba yung saang subject mo ba gagamitin yung digest na yan. That's one. Second, kung alam mo na kung anong subject yung paggagamitan mo, for example, you will be using it in PFR kasi at one case can be a case for example for several subjects, no? Marami kasing sa isang case naman hindi lang ma-isolated na family case lang, mga ganyan, or marriage case lang, ganun. It could be a lot, it could have a lot of issues. So, una, tignan mo muna kung anong subject yung tinutukoy, tapos tingnan mo kung aling issue ang related doon sa subject nyo. And the next is you condense the facts based on what issue you are trying to answer. So kung yung issue mo ay tungkol sa isang bagay, dapat yung facts na ilalagay mo doon, relevant facts only. Hindi pwedeng yung facts mo ay nandoon lahat. So it's just like parang hindi dapat lahat ng facts nandoon. So hindi mga necessary lang in order to answer yung issue of the case, no? The same way with the ruling, no? Kailangan very upfront ka na kung ano yung naging ruling ng court. Did the court agree or not agree with the contentions, mga ganon. And briefly explain through the rationale na binigay ng court why is it, for example, bakit kinonsider na guilty yung accused, mga ganyan, or bakit sinabing merong treachery, for example, in the commission of the crime. You'll have to take the reasons. You'll have to get the reasons why the court decided that way. But again, you'll have to be specific about the context of kung anong concept ang pinag-aaralan nyo in that case, and in what subject will you be using it. Doon mo makukuha yung facts na ilalagay mo dun sa case. Not all facts and not all issues will be discussed in your digest. Depende lang kung saan mo gagamitin na subject. Ivan, wanna add?
Yeah, actually, I couldn't put it in a better way. And this is especially true when nasa na kayo, remedial law. No, and in remedial law, you're gonna talk about a lot about the procedures and stuff. And so some of the facts there are many facts that will not be as substantial kasi nga yung point lang ng court dun, yung point lang ng discussion and issue will be about a certain rule or a certain procedure. And so, yeah, you just state the facts that are relevant to your issue and then summarize your digest. So, yeah.
Okay, so we proceed to this next question. Is it true po na we don't have to attend certain units in English, mathematics, and social sciences in our previous degrees in college po to enter law school? I think there's a recent memo na wala nang, di ba kasi meron talagang prescribed number of English units, mga ganyan, yung soksay units, math units that a person must take, no? I think there's a new guidelines on that, pero hindi ko pa kasi nabasa in full. I don't know if you know it by heart, Ivan.
Yeah, I recently read, and apparently, yes, there is now no certain units that have to be taken during the undergraduate. And the best thing about it is it has retroactive effect. And so, for example, ako na siguro may hindi pa nakuan na kompleto, that wouldn't affect me kasi even if I enrolled like 2 years ago, okay na ako. I could properly graduate and I could probably properly take the bond. So yeah.
So yan, that is the essence also of yung isang question pa dito later, no? So I don't think meron ng required units kasi sa totoo lang, being in law school does not really require a certain you don't gain too much of an advantage if you have certain number of units or sa certain course that you took. Hindi rin may mga iba't iba rin na you can take anything even not related to law, remotely related to law, and you can prosper as a law student, no? So it doesn't matter really, and that is the essence of that memo. So next question is, do we need to take any prerequisites before applying to law school? Basta just baccalaureate now because of that new policy. So we don't need to deal with this at length, no? Next, can we survive law school and mathematics at the same time? Also, can you recommend for a study style? First, yung sa law school and mathematics, I don't know if you will try to take BS Mathematics as a course and law school at the same time. You can't do that because you need at least a bachelor's degree first before you can take law school. And when you're taking law school, you cannot take another course at the same time. Hindi rin pwede yun because there will be a conflict in your transcript, no? Hindi pwede yun. So I hope that's clear. Regarding my study style, ako kasi ano which is it's something that I don't advocate for, pero ako kasi as needed ako mag-aral. uh, I study for I study for the yung mga topics na pag-aaralan namin, no. But usually I am more of a listener, kaya pagdating sa hindi na ako masyado nagbabasa, pero I listen to the lectures if there are lectures in law school, no. The problem is kung walang lecture, no. For example, may mga teachers na who will just ask questions, Socratic method. I don't know if that's out of convenience or for whatever reason, no. Pero ako talaga I stick to listening, and if I need to read, doon na ako nagbabasa. So yun, Ivan shared his study style kanina, pero and my thoughts about how you understood the question on this itong how to survive law school and math.
I was thinking nung nasa one question, I was thinking like she or this person was referring to having a math subject in law school, which
We
there
don't
will
have.
be there isn't a math proper, but there will be some computations along the way, especially in your succession subjects where you have fractions and stuff. But yeah, if you mean to, to have two courses, I mean to parang isabay yung course mo sa law school, that's not possible. And yung recommended study style, yeah, yung diniscuss ko kanina, I hope this person is here right now. That's exactly the study style I have, but again, it's not for everyone. And the point I would like to drive here is find something that fits for you. Take inspiration from a lot of people and just incorporate things that could work for you. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good advice, no? So we have another question here. Itong memo, memo circular from Leb. This is practically the same as what we discussed a while ago, no? Here, may tanong po akong pwede mag-enroll sa law school kahit nasa math lang ako malakas since engineering graduate ako. Pinanghihinaan kasi ako ng loob tuwing naisip kong mahina ako pagdating sa vocabularies. Okay. First of all, let me parang siguro just to just to make a more parang nuanced na answer dito sa sagot na to. First, I know some people who are math majors who entered law school and passed as lawyers. I have this one particular friend who is BSMS math person, but she managed to be a lawyer. There will be a problem if your vocabulary is, I mean, there will be a problem. Wala namang problema kung limited ang vocabulary mo because you'll only have to explain it in plain English. Ako I believe in expressing yourself in the plainest possible, in the simplest way possible, no? Pero yun, while taking law school, siguro you will have to enrich your vocabulary na, no? Especially if we are talking about jargons in law school, kasi jargons in law school are often not substitutable. Kumbaga, when we're asking about prescription, you must mention the word prescription somewhere there, no? Kasi you can't say it other way. So, doon ka na lang mag-accumulate ng vocabulary eventually. Pero, it is good to have good vocabulary. It's always a good thing to have a good command of the English language when you enter law school. But it is not indispensable, especially if you're trying pa lang to enter law school, no? I don't think it matters that you are more inclined towards math because, come on, you can. It is not. Hindi naman nila ina-expect na alam mo lahat. So, yan. Ivan?
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree. I think this is something that you can overcome kasi while you're in law school. Itong kahinaan sa vocabulary. This is something that you can, if you're really dedicated at it and you're really focused on it, this is something you can overcome. Pag habang first year, second year, third year, by third year, you've completed almost all your major subjects, and fourth year review na, I assure you, you probably are already pretty good then sa ano mo, and you've accumulated a lot that you're comfortable with reciting ganun, or answering questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, you don't need to be a parang vocabulary whiz to be ano, to be to enter law school. Okay. Given the meron pa tayong a few questions. No? Given the volume of readings in law school weekly, do you recommend skimming to read more, or do you really have to read intensely, though it will consume much time po? I think skimming works basta yung fundamentals nung text. You can condense the fundamentals of the text by just skimming it, no? Uh, yung reading intensely kasi minsan we are so parang focused on parang on the reading that you don't get to the end. Hindi mo nakuha yung buong story, for example. So the thing is, skim mo muna, and if you did not really understand, if you fail to understand, at least alam mo na where to look after you skimmed, no? That will save you so much time. I don't recommend reading intensely na from the start to end kasi that will not work, especially if kasi there are cases na reiterative lang, paulit-ulit yung nakalagay kasi they parang place the for example the testimonies in verbatim, mga ganyan. So the only thing you need to do is to skim through those passages and balikan mo later kung di mo naintindihan. Pero with na lang hindi mo naman babasahin ulit. Pero look for the specific parts that you may have missed na baka importante dun sa reading. Ivan?
Yeah, if you do, however, choose to want to read intensively, which I do practice often. I actually do both, pero siguro most of the time I do intensely. What you could do as an alternative is, because you as you read intensively, choose specific. Tama yung sinabi ni Sir na there are many times when what you're reading is paulit-ulit siya. It's just that naiiba lang yung term, or naiiba lang yung phrase, the phraseology, it's just different, Pero what you want to do is, if you're into reading intensively, you pick out specific portions of your book where you want to focus, and then start reading from there, as opposed to intensively reading the entire thing, which, as Sir John said, mauubusan ka ng oras, baka hindi mo matapos yung reading mo, hindi ka makaaral properly para sa susunod na class. So that's an alternative. But yeah, I do both, and you could do both as well. But if kung talagang if you really want to choose to read intensively, you could probably use that as an alternative.
Yeah, you can see yung differences in approach namin ni Ivan, because I am not a reader. Hindi talaga ako masyadong nagbabasa, whereas Ivan is a bookworm. We are complete opposites in that department. So you'll know kung saan nanggagaling yung idea namin, no? But what the thing is, what works for you, yun yung gawin mo, no? Kung hindi mo naintindihan by skimming, well, do intense reading and consume more time. Pero if you can do skimming pretty well, gawin mo, di ba? What works for you. At the end of the day, tips are just tips that work for us. And sometimes it doesn't work for you. Sometimes it works. You'll have to experiment. No? So our next question is, what could be the possible questions in entrance exam for law? Usually sa entrance exam, they are generic questions, no? Parang actually hindi siya related sa law at all. May mga test lang nila yung basic skills mo, like vocabulary, mga ganyan, mathematical parang logical reasoning. Ganoon, hindi siya really as hindi siya nangangailangan ng prior knowledge of law. That's what I experienced, and that's what others are saying as well. Another question here is law school scholarships. Some schools offer scholarships, some don't. Regarding fees, medyo may mga mahal. Of course, yung mga big schools, yung mga mas malalaking schools, mas mahal sila maningil. especially those with established names in law school. Pero there are also schools that charge minimally. Meron yung mga state universities where you can take up law even with a meager budget, no? So, yun, you'll have to search it yourself kung ano yung mga schools na yan. Okay, next. What changes, if any, have been implemented on how law is being taught in schools nowadays? I think, at least in my case, no, the Socratic method is still the most widely used method in law school. Am I right, Ivan? Tama, ganun pa rin ba?
Yeah, usually Socratic. I mean, wala pa akong na-encounter na prof na hindi gumagamit ng Socratic. So, yeah, it's still pretty famous.
Yeah, and I think they don't go by ano na ngayon, by section ng batas, but they go through yung more
Yeah.
important kasi bar oriented ang lecturing sa law school which is I think should change already, no. Dapat ako honestly I would like for law parang the teaching law teaching to be more focused on research sana, no, pero that's not how it works. In law school, you'll have to read and memorize and be able to parrot words from the book or more on the more important na mga more common bar questions, no, which is sad. Uh, Anyway, next question is most common misconception about law school and law students. Siguro about law school, most common misconception is that it is extremely hard na only a few people can take, no. Sa akin hindi totoo 'yun, no. Law school is difficult, yes, pero hindi siya ganoon kahirap na you can't na you can't survive it, no. Ano lang din naman kasi it's only about prioritizing what to read, mga ganyan. And if you can read and if you can express yourself in English, I think that is already a sufficient fundamental skill to have in law school. About law students, sabi nila walang social life ang law students. But look at some law students, meron naman, hindi naman siya as if naka-isolate para mag-aral, mga ganyan. No, we go on trips. Usually after class, we go sa mga kainan. You will be able to explore a lot of things in law school as well. So, siguro yun yung para sa akin. Ivan?
Siguro may na-encounter ko one time kasi I shared with a few friends na parang sabi ko, I decided to go to law school. And then parang almost unanimously, sabi nila sa akin, ano talaga, kon talaga yun, matalino. And so yun yung parang pinaka ulit-ulit na lagi kong na-encounter yung, you have to be really, really smart, in order to be in law school. Yeah, I mean, you probably should be, you should be a good thinker. That's one. But you don't have to be this uber smart like Einstein, you invent just theories and stuff. All you should have is the right mindset and a good study habit, a good system, and a healthy personality and a healthy body overall. So that misconception is napaka-famous nun eh. Tas hindi naman totoo yun. That's not true.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Walang ganun. Everyone is teachable pagdating sa law school. Everyone can be taught what law. Diba? Kasi yung batas kasi, it is designed really for people to understand. Kasi kung di naiintindihan ng tao yung batas, how will they follow, diba? The thing is, what you're only trying to do in law school is to understand better yung wisdom kung bakit may batas na gano'n, and yung recent developments kung ano yung nangyari, and how do you interpret certain concepts in law, no? Pero it's nothing really parang extraordinary about law school. It's just like every course, no? You study, you interpret things, ganyan. You answer questions Yun, that's it, no? Hindi siya, there's nothing extraordinary about it really, if you'll ask me. Okay. Is there possibility na magkaroon again ng online bar exam? That's for the Supreme Court to answer. Cream graduate, ano ang magandang profession to start? And at the same time as prep career for law school. Maganda namang practice, no? Yung maganda namang practice yung pagiging criminologist, maging police, for example. That's a good ano, kasi you are practicing what you are and when you're practicing what you're learning in school. So I think that the best thing for you to do there is to practice your profession while you're taking law school at the same time. Malay mo naman, 'di ba? Pero be careful be careful with things na baka you are doing it practically pero in the law mali pala. So you'll have to correct yourself every time, no? And to do that, you'll need to refer back to your law. Bumalik ka lagi dun sa batas. Kasi sometimes there are shortcuts that people do in the actual practice of the profession. Pero what you need to understand is dapat ito yung ideal. What you need to follow is the ideal na nakaset dun sa batas, no? Siguro itong next question, this is highly subjective, so I think I need Ivan's comment here. How to prepare for recitations and exams in law school? Well, there's really no other way for you to prepare for recitations and exams in law school than to read, no? Wala ka na may ibang choice, eh. You'll have to read. Pero it's in the quality of reading that you do that matters, no? Train yourself to speak as if you're writing and to write as if you are speaking. Parang ganun. Kumaga parang in sync yung dalawang skill na yun dapat. Kasi once you recite in a manner that you parang write your answers in an exam, ano na siya parang it becomes, nagkakaroon siya ng, nagiging muscle memory siya to the point na, okay, hindi ka na nahihirapan doon sa logistics ng pagsusulat, you'll only have to think of the content. Ivan?
Yeah, so how to prepare, ano ba yung usually, ang main kwan ko dito is ano talaga yung notes ko. Tapos yung digest, kasi diba sabi ko kanina, yung nag-case studies ako digitally, tapos sinusulat ko for the requirement at the end of the sem. So yung notes, yung pinakita kong Cornell, I explained na you will have really strong recall doon sa note system na ginagamit ko. And that's how I primarily prepare. So by note taking and by for recitations by note taking, and yung exams, both note-taking and case digest. Kasi yung case digest, yun nga, habang sinusulat ko, kasi ginagawa ko yun a month before pasahan, which is usually the final exams na rin. So, parang habang nagda-digest, I nagre-review na rin ako. So, that's how I do it. So, note-taking and by case digesting.
Okay, that's good. That's the practical side of it na rin, no? So, itong isang question na to, I always get this a lot, no? Do you recommend for aspiring law students to read law books in advance? What law books do you think are an investment and must-haves, even for us still taking our pre-law degree programs? Ako, I don't recommend really na magbasa na ng law books in advance, no? I believe na you will have to parang focus on your core competencies muna. Focus on I think the good thing to do is read news items muna, no? For the meantime, magbasa ng news items, ganyan. If it's law related, better, 'di ba? And build on your vocabulary, attempt to write well. Yeah. So yun. But if there's one law book that I would recommend, I think it's the Constitution. No, you'll have to invest in a good book about the Constitution, because every single law in our legal system all boils down to the Constitution. No, kasi there is this concept of what we call yung nabanggit na natin last time, yung doctrine of constitutional supremacy, where the Constitution prevails over other laws, no? So the Constitution is really the summary of all the laws that we have. And yun, siguro that's if you are really into reading law books now, read the Constitution. Yun siguro yung may suggest ko. Ivan?
Yeah, so I wouldn't recommend law books, pero I would recommend legal drama novels.
Yeah.
just because number one, baka ma-appreciate nyo yung how it unfolds then. And number two, because some of this since legal drama siya, the grammar is really really good, and matututo kayo aside from reading newspapers, no? Pero yun, not law books, but probably yung mga novels na may legal drama, really good.
Yes, yung mga shows, mga TV series on law, no? Medyo sila, kaya maraming naglolo because of yung, I think there's this Korean drama that is on law, pero I don't know, I haven't really watched it. Ayoko lang nababasa and nanonood at the same time. That's why I don't watch foreign movies that much, no? Pero siguro you can start with Suits and How to Get Away with Murder, mga ganyan. So these are English movies, English series. So you can immediately digest kung ano yung gusto nilang sabihin. Pero of course you will not understand it all, pero at least, di ba, you have a background already. So how do you handle stress in law school? Handling stress is a very personal thing. We do what works for us. Kasi it could work for me, but not for you, di ba? So ako personally, I do it by watching series, no? Especially comedy series on Netflix, ganyan, or social media, ganun. So ganun lang, simple lang, no? If it's really if it was really a tiring semester, I try to travel siguro yun after that semester. Ivan?
Yeah, so how do I handle stress? Number one, I sleep a lot. Number two, I play games, and I just read novels. Alam mo, just little things that could probably help me recharge.
So
Na parang ayokong lang isipin yung mag-aral ganun.
Yeah. So nakita nyo na yung sinasabi ko kanina. He enjoys reading. I enjoy watching I enjoy watching. So there's that. Those are two completely different skills, na. So siguro another way to manage yung stress is to take breaks. Definitely, you'll have to take breaks. Hindi pwede yung tuloy-tuloy kayo nag-aaral, mga ganyan. So take a break. Kung talagang hindi niyo na kaya, take a break. Kahit gaano pa ka-importante yung subject na ganyan, or kahit gaano niyo pa ka-desididong magpumasa, always take breaks. And you also have to manage your expectations, no? Hindi, for example, ang law school, hindi siya about being perfect, ganyan. Hindi siya about it's not really about parang competing with others, mga ganyan. But it's about you it's about you parang making kumbaga, you cannot expect yourself na parang you can expect na you can answer everything, mga ganyan. Of course, yung mga expectations mo dapat ay realistic, no? And if you can't do it, if you think na hindi mo na kaya, you don't have to push yourself harder to the point na you'll break down, no? Hindi. So you manage your expectations. Okay, hanggang saan ang kaya ko humanly possible. Hindi yun yung dapat iniisip mo, kasi kung tinitignan mo yung limit, parang ini-stretch mo yung limit mo, eventually you'll find yourself exhausted and wala ka nang matututunan. And also find hobbies. Find hobbies kaya kung ako watching series ganyan, si Ivan reading, you get a hobby, no? So yan. Next, what preparations do you recommend upon taking an exam for law school? What preparations? Read, refer to your notes, reconcile yung mga ideas na hindi mo pa natapos. Sometimes I do checklist of the things that I need to study for a test. Tapos kung na-check ko na siya, ibig sabihin, alam ko na. So you'll need to focus on the things that you don't know. No? So, ganun. Ivan?
Yeah, ginagawa ko din yung ginagawa niyo, sir, yung checklist niyo. Kasi, di ba may yung table of contents part ng libro? Yun, hina-highlight ko eh. Pag okay na ako sa, kunyari sa concept na to, or sa article na to, highlight, tapos move. And then hanggang sa yung required, kailangan na aralin, highlight lahat yun, okay na ako.
Yeah. So, kasi you don't have, minsan kasi, there are concepts in law school, there are topics dun sa articles na dun sa libro na sobrang haba niya, no? Sobrang haba niya, pero natapos mo na yon. Pero kung gagawin mong chronological pa rin, kung gagawin mong, parang babasahin mo pa rin yung nabasa mo na, wala ka ng time para dun sa iba. So, kung alam mo na, kung confident ka na about a certain topic, cross it out. Tanggalin mo na yon. So, you can proceed with the others na hindi mo pa alam. You are not to, hindi mo maiiwasan na hindi mo dapat ginagawa na yung dapat alam mo lahat. Hindi eh. The goal is to cover as much ground as possible when reviewing, no? Hindi yung okay, focus ka sa isang subject to, ay isang topic na to. Pero paano kung hindi siya tinanong, 'di ba? Or nagtanong siya isa lang and then may mga ibang mga questions. So you'll have to cover as much ground as possible. That is the same with the bar exam, no? Ganon ang bar exam. It's not really about parang how deeply you understood a concept, but it's how much of the concepts do you actually know and understand. Okay? So, next tayo. Siguro, I think this is the last one. What books do you recommend for aspiring law students? Nasabi ko na nga yung Constitution for the meantime. Techniques to present facts, ano na rin natin yan, na-discuss na rin natin siya kanina. No? How did you manage to attend law school and work at the same time? Siguro mas masalimuot yung kaso ko kaysa kay Ivan. Nagkwento na si Ivan kanina, no? How did I manage? Kasi sa akin kasi, it's an 8-hour job. So I work at 7 a.m. and then finish at 4. Kasi medyo malayo yung pinagtatrabahuan ko. Unlike si Ivan, malapit lang. I travel for 1.5 hours. So basically, by the moment I go out of of work, makakarating ako exactly the time na mag-start ang law school. How did I juggle those, both of that? Ako, kasi I was teaching that time, for example, I make concessions with my dean na yung mga, even yung mga may remotely related na na law concepts lang, yun yung tinitake ko una. That's how I managed it. Pangalawa, in my free time at work, I read. I read yung mga kailangan basahin, pero kung wala akong oras, I let it go, no? Next is wala talagang lang talaga sipag na sipag na pumasok ganyan, kasi ako nga hindi nga ako masyadong palabasa, so I make sure that I go to class every day, every single day. Siguro in my entire law school 3 beses lang ako ma-absent. Hindi ako pala absent na tao, so that's what I do. No, but definitely I maintain at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Hindi ako pwedeng hindi matulog ng ganong kahaba kasi I will not function well in both my work and law school. So, use all the time that you have for reading kasi marami kang other commitments, no? Pero learn to take breaks, ganyan. Don't forget to be social kasi minsan nakakalimutan natin yung socialization with others, but it really helps in managing the stress of it all, no? So, yan. Ivan, you may want to add anything?
Aside from what I said kanina, I think for me, it's all about having a good system. Kasi the problem kasi pag working ka, una, wala kang oras. Tapos pangalawa, pagod ka. And pangatlo, you're just constrained. You have more responsibilities than required, not to finish a lot of requirements. So if you have a really good system, not only will this help you manage, but it will help you stay afloat. No? Just like I said kanina, a good study system would probably be akin to a muscle memory for an athlete aspiring to be probably an Olympian or something. No? You need a system because a system also, aside from keeping you sane and reasonable, it will help you keep things organized, and it will help you keep moving just forward regardless of how hard the situation is. So just keep that system, and I think you're gonna manage law school and work just fine.
Okay, we'll proceed to the next question. Medyo marami siyang question. Uh, may I ask how do law students handle bad receipts or getting a failing score? What are some coping mechanisms? Also, how do you get easily intimidated to questions? Are you sure or do you agree with your classmate's statement? Uh, yung una, yung how do I move on with, how do I handle bad recitations or failing score? Ako madali akong mag-move on eh. Pag mali ka, o di tanggapin mo na na mali ka. Tanggapin mo na masama yung naging recitation mo. Because everyone has, some people kasi think na, na-embarrass ako because I was not able to answer the question. No, everyone gets a bad recitation. It's just that hindi lang yun yung panahon nila, panahon mo yun. So, ganun lang yun, move on nun, no? Failing score pag nabagsak ka, there's nothing really you can do about it, no? So, you just move on, you just strive to do better next time, pero don't sulk dun sa idea na nag-fail ka sa recitation mo na. I don't really recommend that kasi if you do that, well, wala ka talagang ano ka, parang hindi ka makaka-move on doon sa nangyari, and eventually you'll blame yourself, mga ganyan. Dami nang mangyayari doon afterwards. So move on after a bad receipt. It happens to everyone. How do you how not to get easily intimidated by are you sure or do you agree with your classmate's statement? The thing here is you stand by your answer. Yung ganun lang yun. Hindi ka, kung are you sure? Yes, kasi yun nga yung sinabi mo eh, di ba? Di sure ka dun. Na kung di ka sure, kung mali ka, at least sure ka dun sa sinabi mo, di ba? Pero, yun. Huwag ka lang ma-intimidate na magpalit ka ng answer because if you change your answer, that is telling your prof, that is telling your instructor na you don't really have a good grasp of the concept, and he or she will give you a barrage of questions, no? So do you agree with your classmate statement? Depende kung ano yung conviction mo, but definitely you choose a side, no? Hindi pwedeng on the one hand, on the other hand, bibo na masyado yon. Just take a stand. Do you agree, yes or no? Don't think about your classmates' feelings. Sa law school, hindi uso yung feelings ng ibang kaklase mo. Parang answer as you go, answer as you understood. Di ba? Ganun lang yun. Sa akin that's my personal opinion. Ivan?
Yeah, I probably agree with yung gusto ko yung coping mechanism. I remember criminal law 1. Sa midterms I got top 2 sa exams. So I was second highest sa exams. So it was a really good confidence booster. Pero nung final exams, I got a failing score, like siguro, ano ba yung score? Parang 75 yung passing, di ba? And I got 74. So surely failing score yung final exams, which actually has a higher percentage. So how did I cope with that experience? Well, number one, I went out with friends. It's really not productive. I mean, I sulked about it. Yeah, I felt bad. I felt really bad kasi parang, oh wow. Pero number one, I went out with friends. Sabi ko nga, they were my study group and they were also my support group. So they helped a lot. They gave me back my confidence and they comforted me and stuff. And then gusto ko tong so that's how I cope primarily, no? And then itong how not to get easily intimidated. Nakakatawa to kasi unfortunately ako yung tipong nagpapalit ng sagot minsan pag nag-are you sure na si prof. So okay, sige. Napaka-confident ko magsagot, tas after niya makinig parang okay, Mr. Bravo, are you sure about your answer? And then many times hindi ko na mabilang kung ilang beses ako nagpalit ng sagot. Some buti na lang nagpalit ako. Some sana hindi na lang kasi mali. And then yung do you agree to your classmate statement? Minsan, ang tawag nito, tama naman na you have to consider your answer first before your classmates' feelings, no? Pero surely dapat if you want to agree, then you agree. If you don't want to agree, then don't agree. And many times they won't really take that personally. They understand kasi every one of you experiences the same thing. So there's no problem with that. So yung intimidation mawawala din yan as you progress to higher years.
Yeah, mas nawawalan ka ng parang nawawalan ka ng
Wala akong pake.
pakialam as you go along. No? Mali yung sagot ng klase mo, wala kang pake. Mali yung sagot mo, wala kang pake. Ganun. Parang, kasi eventually, it happens to everyone. Di ba? So, panahon mo ngayon, pero hindi mo panahon all the time. So, but the thing is, you don't alienate your classmates. You of course, you have better chances of succeeding if you help each other. Yun siguro yung magandang takeaway doon, na how to maintain tenacity in law school and what kind of mindset does a strong law student need to possess. Ivan discussed it thoroughly kanina yung sa mindset, no? But for me, how do I maintain yung tenacity in law school? Sa akin, it's being comfortable with the fact that law school is not everything, no? I have a life outside of law school. I have a reputation outside of law school. If law school fails for me, it's fine because I have a job, di ba? And I can proceed with other things. Kasi yung iba kasi they falter when they get a failing grade kasi law school is their only route to parang they make law school as their only route to life, and it is not negotiable. Pero the thing is, to be tenacious, to be strong in law school is to be comfortable with the fact that it may not be for you. No? Baka hindi yun yung path mo. And don't concentrate your life on law school. No? Always maintain your relationship with others. Always think of other things to do other than law school. Kasi if you focus your life in law school alone, there's really nothing. You'll get easily frustrated when things don't go your way. Kung hindi nangyayari yung mga gusto mong gawin, hindi ka graduate on time, mga ganyan, it will stress you out. It will parang you will question your life decisions, but it's too late there. So yun, siguro if there's one very important tip that I want you to understand is this: law school is not the end. Law school is just an option. Law school is a good thing to have, but it is not indispensable. No, hindi siya. You can live without law school. No, yun siguro yung be comfortable with that idea. Ivan?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that while it is good to focus and dedicate yourself, really you remember before you were a law student, you already graduated as a professional, and so that says a lot about who you are, and so just realize that if you, like what Sir John said, na parang just realize that law school isn't the be all end all of everything. It is, yes, it's merely an option. So yeah.
Okay, ay yung final question, ano lang yan, subjective yan actually, depende sa ano, instructor. How many assigned cases per subject every week? It depends on the prof. There are subjects that require you to ano, to take a lot of cases. There are subjects that don't give assigned cases, pero you'll have to read the text of the law, ganyan, yung comments, ganon. It really depends on the prof. There's really no prescribed number of cases, mga ganyan. But iba-iba kasi, iba-iba ng approach and iba-iba ng ginagawa. Iba-iba ng ginagawa sa bawat subject. So, there's really no, ito, ang ganito karami, ganyan. Sometimes, the other profs give 50 cases for a week, others don't give cases. Other profs give one, two, three just to get the gist of the ano yung decisions of the court, mga ganyan. It's really not, well, there's really nothing fixed about it. So yeah. So I think this is the last question that we have already. So may I just ask Ivan for a very brief final thoughts after all of this.
Final. Okay. Right. So yun. I think if there's anything I want all of you to take away from tonight, and as you finish this, preparatory law school course, is that when it's important that first, when you decide to enter into law school, you have a really good contemplation about it, especially for those probably who have families, no, or who are parents already. That is not to say that such situations will hinder you, no. But again, the reality is law school will force you to sacrifice a lot of things. It will force you um, to essentially dedicate a lot of time and effort and energy towards it. So you ponder well about it before just fully enrolling and fully attending your first class. The second thing is that no one's really stopping you from entering law school. The only one who is going to stop you is yourself. No. Remember that I really like what Sir John said, that everyone is teachable. I don't subscribe to the belief that just because people were accustomed to this kind of thinking doesn't mean that they can't improve and learn other ideas. No. So yeah, no one's stopping you. If you're really dedicated, go for it. Stop doubting yourself. No. Remember, uh, you are there to learn. You're not there to be the most perfect individual ever, the smartest individual. No, 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 no. So yeah. And then finally, what I want you to take away is that I want you to have this mindset that you're not studying only for yourself. This is very personal for me. I view this course as something that is innately public, that is innately connected to the public and public service. So when you study, it helps to remind yourself who you're studying for, right? It helps to remind yourself, if I read this law, right, and people, and like, you ask yourself, oh, maybe someday will I probably be applying this someday? And probably yes. And if I don't learn this law, maybe that person would go to prison, or maybe that person would lose his or her land, or maybe a lot of things can happen, um so you go back to your purpose, no. Think of law school as like a I Justice Leonen always says this, no, in his tweets and in any speech that he has, that the legal profession has a greater purpose, right? And he hopes that all of us, or most of us, chooses to use it for a greater purpose. And so those are the three things that I want you to take away. For study systems and other tips and tricks, these are all just suggestions. You just flow as you go, develop what's yours, see what fits you, and go along. No. I wish you all the best, and yeah, I hope to see you or at least interact with you with any events that that probably would come during your law school life. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivan, for that. Ako naman, for me, uh, the very first thing that you should be thinking about is this: why are you taking it? Why are you in law school? No, why do you want to be in law school? Only then can you assess whether you're can you're if you can do it or not. The purpose of being in law school is something personal, no? All of us have different reasons for going to law school. Some of us are going to law school are parang some of us are trying hard to uh, we're trying hard to parang finish the course because they have personal battles that they want to take to court, no? May mga inspiration sila, may mga pinagdadaanan sila that requires legal knowledge, pero they can't defend themselves, so they try to go to law school. Some others, may mga tao rin that go to law school for prestige, no? Kasi if you are a lawyer in the Philippines, for some reason it's a big deal, no? And I would understand why. Kasi it's prestigious, it's something that you gain a title, ganyan, and it gives you money, no? Siguro that is one big selling point why people pursue law. But ako, I believe in weighing your choices before making a decision, no? Sabi nga ni Ivan kanina, before you became a law student, you are a graduate of a bachelor's degree, and that bachelor's degree may or may not be related to law. If your degree is related to law, then good for you, pero kung hindi, it's not really stopping you from doing it, no? But the thing is, what is your purpose for taking up law? Kasi if you start in the wrong premise, if you start in the wrong purpose, there's really no point in taking law school, kasi eventually you will use it for that intended purpose, and then wala, 'di ba? Parang it serves you personally pero not the public, no? Or yung motivation mo is too personal to the point na instead of being an officer of the court, instead of being an ethical lawyer, you use your legal knowledge for something that is unjust, the things that we are trying to prevent as lawyers, no? You need to fully understand why you are doing it. Yun ang pinakamahirap na part of the entire process, to know why you're doing something, no? Being in law school has somehow become a fad in in the Philippines. Parang dumadami yung mga nagkaka-interest because sa batas, because maybe it gives people money, mga ganyan, or because of the series that they watch, no? Being inspired by something is good, 'di ba? Pero what is your greater purpose? At the end of the day, why are you doing it? Is it for your personal gain, or is it for a greater purpose, bigger than yourselves, bigger than all of us? No, that is a very important question. And if you are able to answer that question, it will be easy. It will be easy, no? Kasi you have enough motivation, you have enough, if you have bigger aspirations for your why you took law, it grounds you, it motivates you, it gives you inspiration to move towards that goal. Kasi yung personal yan, more likely eventually you will learn that not everything in law school is fancy, na not everything is parang okay, matter of factly, ganyan. There will be times that you will be bored in law school. Topics do not resonate to you because you don't understand them personally. But if you have a great purpose, if your purpose is noble, if your purpose is parang deeply rooted in you, you will find the strength to carry on doon sa mga moments na merong dip in your sa experience nyo in law school, no? Law school is a set of highs and lows, but you'll have to manage to stay afloat until the end, until you pass the bar. And sometimes nakagraduate ka na, but the end is just parang it's just starting. Nagsisimula pa lang ang laban. The fight doesn't end with graduating in law school. It doesn't end with finally getting your law license, your license to practice law, but it is in fighting for justice, for fairness, for equality, no? You will understand when you become a lawyer that yung society na ginagalawan natin is not fair. Even now, I know you have an idea that it's not fair, but it becomes increasingly highlighted na hindi patas yung society where we are in. And we parang unfortunately we only have enough, we can only give enough for a certain cause, no? We can only give enough para may mangyari. And change cannot happen with just one person. It must be systemic. Dapat lahat-lahat tayo is working towards a certain goal. Kaya kailangan natin ng maraming lawyers, but more importantly, we need lawyers who will champion for justice. Kasi if we only have lawyers, but lawyers who are thinking only for themselves, we are worse off than we are right now. So my appeal to you is this: if ever you will have the privilege to be in law school, always think of the bigger picture. Always think of whose lives are at stake in what you're doing, parang who benefits from what you're doing. And with that, I think you will be parang eventually you will have the drive to pursue it kung you have enough motivation and purpose for doing so. So with that, I end this program. Hopefully you learned a lot from all of the previous weeks that we had together. What we discussed in the previous weeks is just a bird's eye view of what you're about to take for 4 years in law school. Think hard kung itutuloy nyo o hindi. This program is not designed to push you to go through law school. This course is designed for you to decide better whether you will take law or not, no? The thing is, hindi kasi siya biro. Hindi siya biro because lives are at stake. Your money is at stake. Yung resources niyo is at stake, especially if you are not from a well-off family, no? If you have generational wealth that exceeds your needs, well, good for you, pero not everyone has that, no? So, and if you're rich, you're not here in this program definitely, because you'll have all the resources to hire someone to teach you mga ganyan. Pero what I want you to understand is being a lawyer is a privilege and a responsibility at the same time. Sana if you eventually become lawyers yourselves, always champion for justice, always think of others, always share your knowledge, kasi that is the only way that you can contribute to society. Nothing else. I'm doing this personally because I want more people to appreciate the law, not to go to law school or anything, but I want better appreciation of law from people like you and me. So I hope to have more programs like this, pero I can only do so much. I am alone in this, but I wish to have more people sana if I have the resources, pero I don't at the moment. And sana we continue supporting yung mga programs natin in the future, no? And sana nagsagot din tayo sa evaluation form para ma-improve natin itong program na to, and it will be a good your comments, your suggestions will be good inputs sa ating continuous na program na ito. Hopefully we can sustain this. And you can expect that as long as I'm available, I'll be sharing my expertise to all of you. So thank you everyone for that for this really productive program. Thank you, Ivan, for the assistance as always, and thank you everyone for being cooperative, for being so thoughtful then at times, and for pushing it through at the end of this program. So I hope to see you in other activities of the page. Please watch out. So if you'll notice, I'm branching out to more of these kinds of programs. So sana I will have your support along the way. So, ayan, good night everyone. I hope marami na tayong oras na nakain, pero sana marami tayong natutunan for the past week, no? And if you want to ask questions, still nandoon naman yung GC natin. If you have questions, sana continuous yung interaction natin. So thank you everyone, and have, nga pala, picture, nakalimutan ko.